Hey everybody, it's Spicy Kai. Excuse the graininess of this part of the video, but I'm determined to get this thing out. This video is about the disgusting things that Quanell X has done over the years and why it is very important that we no longer hail him as a hero in the Maleah Davis case. Please hit that thumbs up and share this video if you find it interesting. And please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell as well. Enjoy the video. Quanell X is a self-proclaimed activist for the people of Houston. He's also well known for spreading radical, racial, and misogynistic hatred around his local Texas communities. Born Quanell Ralph Evans, he's currently in the news as a hero for helping authorities find the remains of missing 4-year-old Maleah Davis. According to the reports Quanell X wants us to believe, he single-handedly walked inside a Harris County jail and got a confession out of Derion Vence. Now keep in mind, Derion had never seen this man in his life other than in the media bad-mouthing him. He also knew there was no one offering to pay for a private attorney to take his case. That means he had no reason to think this was his new attorney. So you have to ask yourself, why would Derion talk to the stranger who accused him of sending gay texts and abusing Maleah both physically and sexually? Quanell X also wants us to believe that it was this confession that led to baby girl Maleah being found way in Hope, Arkansas. And amazingly enough, it all began with a dream. Mr. X told KPRC2 investigative reporter Ronald Arnold, "My daughter texted me to tell me she had a dream that I had found Maleah in a field and the stepfather was there. When she told me that, I got dressed and took it as a sign to go talk to Derion."
A new development, a subpoena has been filed for Quanell X's phone records. Robert Arnold revealed that fact to Quanell today.
Robert is live in the newsroom, and Robert, Quanell's reaction was a strong one.
Absolutely. Now, about 24 hours before Quanell X met with Derion Vence at the jail and learned the location of Maleah's body, that came after a big change in the case. The day before that visit, Vence's first attorney withdrew from the case, and a new attorney had to be appointed. And sources tell us the new defense team wants to know if Quanell was working with detectives before he met with Vence. This was Quanell's response.
Well, let me say to Darion's attorneys,
to be clear, that subpoena is directed at Quanell's cell phone carrier, not him. However, we did ask whether Quanell spoke with HPD investigators prior to meeting with Derion Vence at the jail on Friday.
I never spoke with investigators about if I was going to talk to him or visit him. None of that. I had never spoken to him until after he confessed.
Now, did you hear that play on words? Quanell said, "I never spoke to them until after he confessed." Them meaning, quote unquote, the investigators. To me, that's a serious play on words. He may not have spoken to any investigators, but he definitely spoke to someone at that facility. County jails are very strict about civilian visiting days and times. I'm a prison loved one. Trust me, I know. There is no way this man got inside that county jail to visit Derion on a non-visiting day without inside connections. Lies.
As for why Quanell visited Vence that day, Quanell says his own daughter told him she had a dream that he found Maleah.
When she told me that, I got dressed and took it as a sign to go talk to Derion.
As we reported, following Quanell's meeting with Vence, investigators found Maleah's body in Arkansas. He also said Vence told him that what happened to Maleah was an accident.
That's a kinder, gentler way of admitting that you did something to this child. I believe that what he did was deliberate.
We also asked about what he says were Vence's comment about being unfairly portrayed by the media. How does he feel he should be portrayed?
He felt that he was both parents to the children, mother and father.
Now, Robert Arnold asked Quanell X, how does Derion feel he should be portrayed in the media? This is where this man should have choked on his own lies. It was the perfect opportunity to right some of the wrongs about this case so people can concentrate on the actual facts instead of his lies. Quanell goes on to tell the reporter about how Derion felt he was both parents to the children. And we all now know that that's the truth. Good for you, Mr. X. You finally righted one wrong. But what Derion is also referring to is Quanell portraying him as a closeted gay man in the media. Once again, I have no doubt that Brittany Bowens never told Quanell that. He made it up to make the story more salacious and to embarrass Derion into a confession. No heterosexual man would sit back quietly while the media accuses him of sending racy text messages to another man. That's what Derion talked to Quanell X about that day. Not a confession of any sort.
He was a fit parent? He felt he was a fit parent?
Who in the hell is he to qualify somebody who's fit? I agree with you.
Are you concerned about his confession being suppressed?
Not really. But I say to the lawyer, get ready. Because I'll be well prepared to defend exactly what he said to me.
The reporter asked him, "Are you concerned about the confession being suppressed?" This fool had the audacity to say, "Not really," as if he has balls of steel. He says that when the trial time comes, the defense better be ready, because he'll be prepared to defend what Derion told him. Look here, Mr. Conmaster. The only way for you to have secured a confession from this man would have been to pretend to be his legal counsel. And if that's what you did, the confession would be 100% inadmissible. And since you act as fake counsel on a regular basis, you already know that. Therefore, Mr. Lying X, why don't you just shame the devil and tell the truth? The real reason you are worried about the confession being suppressed is because, plain and simply put, there wasn't one. Derion confessed to another inmate at the jail days before you visited. That is how authorities found her remains all the way in Hope, Arkansas. The only confession you got out of Derion is that he is not gay. Why does it matter if people think Quanell X is a hero? Many people have been asking this question a lot since baby girl was found on the side of an Arkansas highway. They don't understand why we can't just be grateful that he helped find Maleah Davis. But if he did not assist in the recovery of her remains, it's sick of us to allow him to take credit for it. For one, this was a precious 4-year-old toddler. Hearts ached all throughout Houston and eventually across the country while she was missing. The agony went on for 30 days before she was discovered. No one should be allowed to use her for fame and money. And trust me, I've done the research. The more popular Mr. Quanell X becomes in the press, the more he's able to swindle people out of cash. He offers help similar to what he did for Brittany Bowens to people all over Houston. For some, like in the Maleah Davis case, Quanell does work as an activist, which means he doesn't get paid. But he does get the local fame that comes with organizing these press conferences, rallies, and marches. Yet for others, he charges enormous amounts of cash to bring media coverage to their cases and causes. Then he literally disappears on them. So no, I will not allow him to use baby girl Maleah as a pawn in his media money game. Not only does it give him unwarranted power, but it's completely disrespectful to Maleah Davis. College students at Texas Southern University. Here's a small snippet from his now infamous speech. "I refuse to allow some foot shuffling, some head bowing, knee bending, boot licking, behind kissing, old times ain't forgotten, still wish we in the land of pick cotton, sell out, window dressing Negroes to quiet me down. Quiet down the spirit of young brothers and sisters because Reverend Ham Hock, Pastor Porkchop, Deacon Chickenfoot, and Bishop Coward would not stand up and fight for the liberation of their people. I'm sorry." Man, this man and his words. It was these types of speeches that kept bringing more negative attention to the NOI than they could handle. So in April 1997, Quanell X left the NOI to establish the Mental Freedom Obtains Independence Party. MFOI members carried cameras everywhere they went. They were also known to provoke police brutality incidents so they could film them. He told local Houston police officers, "An eye for an eye, a life for a life. I say to those corrupt police officers, I hope you are as willing to die as you are willing to kill." MFOI quickly failed. That's when Quanell teamed up with NOI ousted Khalid Abdul Muhammad. He was the leader of the new Black Panther Party, and he was well known for his provoking speeches. Quanell quickly became a top lieutenant for NBPP, telling his people, "Brother Khalid told me never forget the struggle, never compromise, and always remember, the white man is not a devil. He is the devil." Interestingly enough, Quanell is also indirectly related to some of the aftermaths from the events of September 11th, 2001. That's when the World Trade Centers were destroyed and thousands of people were killed in New York City. Quanell X's former bodyguard, shown here, Jeffrey Battle, was a member of the Portland 7 terrorist cell. These were American Muslims who attempted to help the Taliban in Afghanistan after 9/11. They wanted to personally go to Afghanistan and help the Taliban and Al-Qaeda fight against American soldiers. Jeffrey Battle and his ex-wife, October Lewis, shown here, were facing multiple charges. They were also accused of treason and crimes against Americans. However, Quanell showed his support to his backstabbing friends by attending October Lewis's court hearing before the member of the Portland 7 was sentenced to federal prison. Shady characters tend to keep shady company. I'm just saying. Then there's the case of Harris County District Attorney Chuck Rosenthal. In this case, it appeared at first that Quanell X was doing the right thing for a change. However, as an advocate, he did it for the wrong reasons. Ultimately, money. In 2008, Cron reported that Harris County District Attorney Chuck Rosenthal was involved with a scandal related to racist and sexist emails being sent out using government computers. Quanell staged protests and organized rallies to get the DA to resign. People really thought Mr. X was acting as an activist for his local community. Eventually, the truth came out about his phony activism related to the Rosenthal case. Quanell X had been paid a consulting fee of $20,000 to put the protest together. That's right, a $20,000 consulting fee for his community efforts. Last I checked, true activists do not charge consulting fees. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X are both spinning in their graves right now. Perry L. Duff said it best. Can you say shades of Al Sharpton? And there are many, many, many more who consider themselves victims of the advocate for the black community of Houston. They say he takes money from his own people to provide advocacy work, then completely disappears on them. He's left many of his own people broke and homeless, and literally doesn't seem to care. By February 2018, Quanell's relationship with the new Black Panther Party was washed up. He had been scamming people out of money, promising services he never delivered, all throughout Houston and abroad, honey. Many of his victims were becoming very vocal in the local news, bringing negative attention to the new Black Panther Party. So they announced that they were cutting ties with the self-proclaimed community activist. National Chairman Yakanan Ben-Yah accused Quanell X of being a fraud and stealing money from the public.
Has local civil rights activist Quanell X been stealing money from the very community he claims to serve?
What we have found was that Mr. Quanell has been guilty of stealing money from the public. He is now in court being sued by a multiple number of people.
As a proclaimed leader of the People's New Black Panther Party in Houston, Quanell has been an outspoken activist in the community on many high-profile cases. Quanell allegedly has been taking money from the people coming to him for help with their cases. But now his party dropped a bombshell, saying it's all a big fraud. Party chairman Yakanan Ben-Yah claims at least 14 lawsuits have been filed against Quanell X, and 2 individuals have actually gotten their money back.
We're not in contact with all the people's lawyers. We were just directing them on how to go about getting their money back.
And now party leaders say they are setting the record straight and have cut all ties with Quanell X.
Let the people know that we do not condone his actions. He is not a part of us. He is not our leader, even though this is what he claims on all of his social websites.
Ben-Yah now has this warning for the community.
If you give him your money, he will take your money without any kind of service at all whatsoever.
Party leaders claim Quanell has been ripping off the public for over a decade. Newsfix reached out to Quanell X for comment on these allegations, but so far we have not had a response from him. Now, that silence seems to be getting louder by the hour. And for Quanell, it sounds like the party's over.
No, we don't know exactly how many have filed lawsuits at this time, but there are a number of different lawsuits that have been filed. And also there have been criminal charges filed against Mr. Quanell for theft of services as well. So that's something else he'll be dealing with as well. Those charges, I don't know the exact date when they were filed, but they were filed by Mr. Nate Lewis, who was one of the victims who actually recovered their money in a lawsuit.
So sometime recent?
Yeah, it was very recent.
Total number of people, I may have missed that.
The total number of people, we don't know exactly right now, but it's in the upwards of the dozens.
And tell me how to spell your name.
It's Yakanan, Y-A-H-C-A-N-O-N, Ben-Yah, B-E-N-Y-A-H.
Did Yakanan Ben-Yah say criminal charges? Yes, you heard right. There are criminal charges currently pending against Quanell X for theft of services. These charges were filed by a Mr. Nate Lewis long before Maleah Davis disappeared. Now, this is just my opinion, but I believe this man used Maleah's disappearance to distract the public from his multiple civil lawsuits and pending criminal charges. That's why his victims have been so vocal in the media. They're absolutely frustrated with the public persona that this man is a hero, when in fact, he's a criminal and a scam artist. On September 18th, 2018, Perry L. Duff of MoCapacity.com reported on 2 more incidents where Mr. X, the activist, took people's money and didn't deliver what he promised. Sandra Leday of Port Arthur, shown here, gave QX $600 to investigate her son's MURDER. He did absolutely nothing to help the grieving mother. Then there's Hilda Pete. Hilda paid QX $9,000 to help get her son off. He was facing MURDER charges. Once again, the so-called activist did nothing whatsoever to help the mom. Now, all of this scamming information and criminal charges, it's all disturbing enough. But it's Quanell X's direct involvement in the 2010 Cleveland gang rapes that makes me sick to my stomach. This case involved 21 black men and teens who raped an 11-year-old girl numerous times over the course of 3 entire months. The rapes happened continuously from September 15th through December 3rd, 2010. According to Community and Children's Impact Center Director Brenda Mai, the 11-year-old girl was a bubbly honor roll student from Trails End, Texas, who was always smiling up until September 2010. That's when her parents say she became reserved. In October, soon after she started 6th grade, Brenda Mai says the girl became completely withdrawn and stopped coming to the center altogether. In just a couple of months, she'd gone from being an enthusiastic young girl with a love for planting trees, going on hikes, and hanging with the kids at the youth center, to being a victim who was victim shamed by many adults in the small East Texas town known as Cleveland. You see, she was a bit tall for her age. Many even say she dressed older, which made her look older than 11 years old. They justified the multiple gang rapes with this nonsense. But we're talking small town here. Everyone in this entire town is either blood related or extremely close to blood relatives. All 21 men and teens knew how old this little girl was at the time. There's also the issue of her being quote-unquote fast. According to her father, Juan, she used to sneak out of the house at night. Sometimes she'd return as late as like 11 o'clock p.m. He and his wife tried their best to control her, but they just couldn't get a handle on it. Her townspeople tried to use this to justify the multiple assaults as well. The problem is, she was an 11-year-old child. The 6th grader's parents told investigators that one of the defendants called their home on Sunday, November 28th, pretending to be her friend. He asked her to come with him to ride around, according to search warrant affidavits. Eric B. McGowan. Let me repeat that. Eric B. McGowan was a 19-year-old with sick motives. He and 2 other teen men picked the little girl up and took her to the house below. Okay, let's try that one again. Eric B. McGowan was a 19-year-old with sick motives. He and 2 other teen men picked the little girl up and took her to a house located in an area where everyone is related by blood or friendship. The details of the multiple child rapes are so sick. I just don't want to go into them in this article. However, if you guys want to know, let me know. I'll do my best to research all the information and report on it. But the bottom line is, the case involved a Hispanic child being raped numerous times over the course of 3 months by 21 different black men and teens. Long story short, the initial assaults took place in this home right here, which belonged to a Rayford Tyrone Ellis. At some point, someone's grandmother came home, so they made the little girl go out of the window with them and follow them to this trailer. There, the rapes continued. And these monsters had the nerve to film the acts of disgust against the little girl. That's how they got caught. Not only did a video make it to the local high school where it was reported to police by administrators, but someone had the nerve to text a video of the assault to the child's father. So what does the Cleveland gang rape of an 11-year-old girl have to do with Quanell X? Well, in March 2011, this man made his way to the small Texas town of Cleveland, just 40 miles east of Houston. He wanted to show his support to the assailants, not the little girl. Quanell wanted to not only support, but advocate for the 18 men being accused at the time. Eventually, the number grew to 21. The ages of the men and teen boys range from 14 to 27. Most of them were over 18, making them legally adults. But none of that mattered to Quanell X. All he could see was color. All of the boys and men were black. However, the 11-year-old little girl was Hispanic, and that alone made him feel it was his duty to rally for the savages, to supposedly raise money to pay for their legal defenses. Now, that alone is not an issue. As a prison loved one, sometimes it's necessary to advocate for the guilty, even if it's just to ensure that they get fair trials. It's the victim shaming that came with his support that fed into the disgusting views of the black community members in Cleveland, Texas. Quanell X staged a meeting at Cleveland's town hall to bring attention to the case. It didn't matter that the assaults committed the rape, that the assailants committed the rapes on video, so he knew they were 100% guilty. All this man cared about is the fact that he didn't want 18 black men and boys going to prison over a Hispanic girl, no matter how old she was or how horrendous the crimes. Here's a quote from Quanell X. "It was not the young girl that yelled raped," he said. "Stop right there. Something is wrong, brothers and sisters." Quanell also questioned the role of the girl's parents. Where was the mother? Where was the father? This child was raped by half the town of Cleveland. However, this man traveled there all the way from Houston to question the motives of the 11-year-old girl, asking why she, quote unquote, didn't report the attack to the authorities herself. He added, "Come on, little girl, don't be shy." Such gross sarcasm. In March 2011, New York Mag's Dan Amira reported, Mr. X was also apparently more concerned with why, quote, only young black men had been arrested, quote, than why so many young black men felt it was okay to participate in a gang rape of a young girl. Priorities? A Houston Press 2014 report also gives us a deeper look into why this man would defend rapists over a child, noting Quanell X claimed the investigation into the rape was being, quote, run by the KKK, and stated to the African American community of the town, quote, "We do not want someone with a malicious racist motive to rid your community of an entire generation of black men." Truth be told, Mr. X, it was not an entire generation of black men. According to the ages of the rapists, it was 2 generations. And if these 6 excuses for humans conspired together to rape this child over and over again over a 3-month period, while issuing numerous death threats to stop her from talking, let's rid the town of all of these black monsters. We should also rid the world of Quanell Ralph Evans, advocacy actions. This man is a sick liar, and the people of Houston have had enough. Now, do you still believe Quanell got Derion to confess? Well, let's just go over a few little facts right quick. On May 30th, 2019, Quanell cut all ties with Maleah's mother, Brittany Bowings, saying she told too many lies. The very next day, he somehow made it inside the Harris County Jail on a non-visiting day and secured a confession from Derion Vence. There are only two ways he could have gotten inside that jail on a day when visits are not allowed by anyone except legal counsel. Either one, Quanell X misrepresented himself as an attorney somehow, which would make the Houston Police Department a bunch of bumbling idiots. This is also illegal and definitely grounds to have the confession thrown out of court. Or two, Quanell knew someone who works inside the jail who acted as an informant and his helper. This person would call him as soon as Derion confessed to the inmate that baby girl had transitioned and where to find her. And this same person is probably the one who allowed Quanell X inside the jail to talk to Derion during non-visiting hours. I'm betting my bottom dollar it's number two. I do not believe Derion Vence confessed to Quanell X, a stranger he only knew from defaming his character on the news. How much sense does that actually make? I mean, okay, here are my four main issues with Derion's so-called confession to Quanell X. According to reports, this man, David Chalfant, is the man who heard Derion's jailhouse confession. He claims Derion told him about Maleah's demise, how it happened, and where to find her body, a week before Quanell even visited the jail. This man also claims that when Derion confessed to him, he immediately told authorities. So that means about a week before Quanell visited the jail, authorities already had Derion's confession. Number two, let's talk about the Arkansas searches. Now, locals driving in the area of Hope, where Maleah's body was found, days before the Quanell visit, said they saw searches being conducted in that area. That would actually kind of coincide with the timeline provided by David Chalfant, who says a few days before Quanell's visit, he told authorities that Derion told him where to find Maleah. So that would only make sense that around those days, that's when they were searching for her, and that's probably when they found her. Now, number three. I don't know if you've heard about the lawnmower incident, but according to Arkansas authorities, landscapers were mowing the grass on the side of the Hope, Arkansas highway days before Quanell's visit. One of these people ran over the garbage bag that contained her remains with a riding mower, shredding it and shredding her across the landscape. This is when I believe they discovered Maleah. It was just a matter of getting the jailhouse confession from David to connect these remains to a little girl missing all the way in Houston. Let me see if I can break that down a little bit better. Basically, in my opinion, I believe that when the lawnmower incident happened, that's when they discovered a little girl's remains. But there was no way to connect it to a little girl missing all the way in Houston until Derion confessed to the inmate who told the Houston authorities, who contacted Arkansas, who probably said something along the lines of, Yes, we believe we found Maleah Davis. Now, Quanell X is a racist, and he's a misogynistic scumbag. Any man who would advocate for 18 males who repeatedly raped an 11-year-old girl over a 3-month period just because they are black and she's Hispanic is a disgusting human being. He's a sick, foul man who had no business representing 4-year-old Maleah. Because let's face it, Quanell would also victim shame baby girl and insinuate it's all her fault if this happened to her and all of her assailants were black men. By the time this ousted member of the People's New Black Panther Party visited Derion Vence in that county jail, Maleah Davis had already been found. Spread the word about this loser. Because even though we all believe Brittany Bowens is somehow guilty of her daughter's premature transition, Quanell X still does not deserve credit for helping baby girl finally rest in peace. So from me, my family, and everyone else who's been watching this case, rest in peace, baby girl Maleah Davis. Rest in peace, baby girl. Thank you so much for watching my video. It is very important that we spread the word about Quanell X. We can't just have this man going around tearing down black communities, tearing down black families, and tearing down black mothers. It's just disgusting. And at the end of the day, this man has no respect for black women. And that's the bottom line there. Please like the video, share it, and do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and that little bell so you'll get notified every time I drop something new. Thank you so much for following me. Spicey Guy out.